public participation. How many minutes, Ms. Lorraine, are we? How many? 3. So it'll be 3 minutes, and as you're up here, kind of keep an eye on Ms. Lorraine here. She'll give you a little cue on time and when to wrap things up. So our first member we'd like to bring up is Zoe Giles, and she has an interpreter. We want to invite you up to the pulpit.
Hello, I'm Amber Lien. I would like to express my opinion and ask you, what about asking the kids and the parents about their decisions in these things? This bill, HB 409, and there has a couple of lines in the bylaws that used to state that parents had the right to choose, but that those lines have been erased. And I really would ask why. Who else is responsible for children if not their parents? Parents have their own abilities to choose. Another issue that I would like to bring up is if we have a school that is only for deaf people, then their diplomas will say special ed, and that can create problems for them once they graduate. It becomes very difficult to go into a college because of that special ed on their diploma. Another topic that needs to be considered is this push to have deaf students taking online math classes. Deaf children need to be involved in public school. I have been involved at Skyline High, and because of that, I've had many good opportunities to interact with my hearing and deaf peers. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to invite Lisa Colvert.
Hello. Sorry. I hope you can hear me. I've been fighting a voice today and yesterday. I thought for a while as to what voice I really wanted to speak from today, because I hold many roles. I hold the role of a teacher. I hold the role of a teacher leader. But what really came to the voice that I wanted to speak from today is the voice of me as a parent, was the voice that was speaking the loudest to me. And as we're coming, and there's been a lot of debate and processes on these science standards that are going on and the issues that come with it, because science has so many ins and outs and issues that come along with it. And I have spent many hours for all my many roles within the framework trying to figure out what is it that these science standards are based upon. What is the research behind it? Because I was exposed to these first as an educator. And that's what first caught my interest. But as I dove into it, it was my parent heart that took over with these standards and with the way that they are written. Because as I dove into it, what I want my child and the children around me, I hear it from the parents who are within my community. They say, I just want my child to know how to think. I want my child to be able to take situations and information that is handed around them and know how to do it. I never hear, I want my child to know this fact. I want my child to be able to do this problem. They want them to know how to think, and I can think as me, who is a science and math educator. When I turn my child over to an art class, I hope and I pray, I go, I am not an expert right now, but I hope and I pray that that art teacher can teach my child how to think artistically, because I can't teach them that. I hope and pray in an English class because I struggle with writing. I hope and I pray that I can teach that they can teach that child how to think in a way, how to write, how to create flowing thoughts, how to express their ideas and their opinions. Just as when I started falling in love with the framework that these standards are based on, it was the first time that even as a science educator, my heart went. I'm being told to teach these children and my own children how to think scientifically. Suddenly, as a child, as a parent, when my child would say, "Why is the sky blue, Mom?" I wouldn't give them an answer. I would say, "What do you notice? What around us tells us that there are things around us and doing?" And this is what these standards are encouraging educators to do. They are encouraging their educators to teach the children how to think scientifically and how to solve the world and the problems around them. And there's always going to be little issues about the wording and things that we debate about. But for my child who's about to be a kindergartner to have this, her whole educational experience, truly excites me.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll have Dawn Monson.
Hi, I'm Dawn Monson. Take a look at my bottle here. I'm the Executive Director for the Utah Science Teachers Association. First, I want to say thanks to the writing committee that put in incredibly hard work in research, writing, editing, rewriting, finalizing the K-5 9 through 12 standards. And thank the Standards and Assessment Committee for all of their passion and organization in moving it out of committee. But finally, I want to thank you, the board members, for moving this forward at a groundbreaking standards change. So your final step is to vote to accept these SEED standards. But why should you do this? First, the science content is updated. Second, the SEED standards are the best pedagogy for learning, and not just science. One of the cross-cutting concepts is patterns. You will find patterns in math, language arts, history, health, and of course science. So these standards don't just strengthen science, but they strengthen the entire educational experience of these students. Third, as the topics are presented, students become the investigators, looking for evidence and constructing explanations. For example, fourth graders will take rocks with layers and try to construct an explanation about how changing environments created Utah's natural resources like coal, oil, and natural gas. The students become the scientist. Fifth, the students are presented with a phenomenon. They get to ask the questions. These asking of questions increases their curiosity and brings total engagement. For example, my bottle. Do you have any questions about it? Now what other questions do you have about it? When the student is allowed to set the questions and investigate it, they are engaged. The Utah Science Teachers Association calls upon and encourages the Utah State School Board of Education to accept the SEED standards K-5 and 9 through 12. This is truly in the best interest for the students of Utah. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll invite Carl Smith.
I have a handout for the members of the board here.
We don't get one.
I'm right here.
Okay, if you just want to pass those out. I'll just tell you quickly, this is a resolution passed by the National Federation of the Blind of Utah in April pertaining to what I'm going to speak about today. You can see it's long enough that I'm not going to read the whole thing because of the time limit that I have here, but I would like to capsulize just what our concerns are quickly. Sorry. In 1994, the Blind Persons Literacy Rights and Education Act was passed the Utah House and Senate by unanimous vote and was signed into law by Governor Mike Leavitt. A major provision of this law is the requirement that Braille be the standard reading and writing method following the guidelines noted in Utah Code. Additional language was added pertaining to licensing of teachers of the visually impaired, such that teachers shall demonstrate competence in reading and writing Braille, and that the Board of Education shall adopt procedures to assess these competencies and shall require teachers of the blind to meet these standards. I would add parenthetically here that if we edited this sentence just a little bit and it read, all teachers of sighted students shall be required to demonstrate their proficiency in reading and writing print, I wouldn't be here today. Despite this, the National Federation of the Blind of Utah was notified that upon calling to arrange for her Braille assessment competency exam, a teacher candidate was advised by the Utah State Office of Education that she need not take the exam, and she, in fact, has received her special education license and endorsement in visual impairment without it. Upon inquiring about this situation, we were advised by the Utah State Office of Education that Rule R 277-304, Draft 3, on board docs for Thursday, February 7th, 2019, lines 257, states, to receive a special education license with a blind and visually impairment endorsement, an individual must pass a Braille assessment exam. Although this is technically correct, the previous rule has not been in effect or enforced since at least June of 2018. Since that time, more than one teacher candidate has received a special education license with a blind division.
Carl, excuse me, I'm going to have to ask you to kind of wrap it up.
Okay,
Your
I've just
time's
got
up.
it.
Thank
I'm
you.
just about done. With a blind and visually impairment endorsement without this requirement being met. We believe that the recent rule changes by the Board of Education directly violate the Blind Persons Literacy, Right, and Education Act. We call upon the Utah State Board of Education, the Utah School for the Blind, and the legislature to require the restoration of the standards in place prior to June of 2018. And any teacher having received their license and endorsement without this be given reasonable time to meet this standard in order to maintain their license. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to invite up, they're together, there's,
There may be one or three.
yeah, so you might as well all three come up. Sarah Espinoza, Scarlett Cortez, Ariante Alman. I might have, correct me on those if you would. They're AP students, so I'm not sure if there's one spokesman, and we have, okay,
Okay, so,
a couple minutes apiece, that would be fine.
okay, hello. I'm Scarlett Cortez from West High. I'm here to talk to you about the values of having access to a computer science class in high school. You might think computer science is just about learning how to code or learning how to program something, but that is not true. Computer science teaches you about computer communication with people and what will happen if you're not using the internet in a safe way. We also learn about what makes a computer unique from the other computer and devices. In the class, we got people coming in and teaching the class about their jobs and how it connects to computer science. We also learned how to use the idea of teamwork, which is most important, which I think is most important. What it personally did for me is open a lot of new opportunities. Like in class, I learned how to program. I learned about a program called SheTech. And from that class, I got invited to attend a Women Tech Council luncheon, and I got into the robotics club. Computer science opened a lot of new doors to me, and I'm hoping that it can open on other doors to students and experience new things that even doing it for fun, it can be just fun. I also hope that the future generations have the chance to enjoy computer science without any limitations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, you can just call me Dottie, that might be easier. Yeah. So I'm a freshman at West High School, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. So I'm here to advocate on behalf of increasing computer science courses across Utah, as well as AP courses. So the American education system was first created in response to the Industrial Revolution. The manufacturing job sector had grown exponentially, and the education system sought to reflect that. Now, in the present and the future, computer science jobs are growing at 2 times the national average rate, making it the fastest growing job market in the world. So if computer science is our revolution, shouldn't we invest more? I took my first programming class last year. There were 2 girls in the class, and I dropped out before the year ended. But still, I persevered, and I chose to try and take it again next year. And so this year I took AP Computer Science Principles, and suddenly everything clicked. I could program, I could code, I could understand how the internet worked, and it was just such an amazing feeling. So West High is the most diverse school in the state of Utah, and many minorities that are represented at West feel limited in what they can or can't achieve. AP Computer Science Principles is such a palatable course that it challenges so many minorities to take this AP course and challenge their capabilities to do more. Gender, race, and economic disparity begins at the baseline level of education. By encouraging minorities to participate in high-level courses, we help them to level the playing field. We are the generation of the internet. We were born with an iPad in one hand, a pacifier in the other. Computer science is our world, it is our future, and we deserve to be prepared for it. Thank you for the privilege of your time.
Thank you. Go ahead. Okay, this concludes our public participation.